Tonight on Free Keene TV, Ron Paul visits Keene, charges are dropped against Derrick J Freeman, and more. Hello, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm your anchor, Jonny Ray. Our first story tonight strikes home with Free Keene TV. Our technical director, Derrick J Freeman, was arrested this summer in the lobby outside Keene District Court. His crime? Operating a camera. His charges were dropped by prosecutor Chris McLaughlin the day before his trial was set to take place. Here's a video recap of the event.
So I'm here, we're handing out some flyers this morning. I just wanted to get some of this on coverage. We're just handing out these don't take the plea deal flyers as people come in. I'm just handing them out. But I just found out my friend Ademo got arrested, and I want to find out what that's about, because I'm not too happy about it. What happened, Jason? Do you know?
No, he's up there in the room. I've been like chatting in their ears, but I think I'm gonna go and get a video camera.
Okay, I have a camera if you want to take it up there and use it.
Okay.
It's rolling, so just point and shoot.
What was that? Is that a policy or? Yeah, stealing the money from people. I should have. No, it's not. I don't agree to that. It's absolutely ridiculous. Taking money from me through the threat of a gun. Somebody who's never even harmed anybody in their life. That is the most cliche, ridiculous statement I've ever heard.
That's how it was made originally.
Oh, that is so ridiculous. Can anybody tell me what's happening with my friend?
Recorded.
Is that a policy that I can't record you?
I am saying under federal law, I have the right not to be recorded.
Okay, if you show me that policy, I'll be more than happy to shut this off.
I just told you what the federal law is. Now you got 2 minutes to shut it off, or I'm going to arrest you. Violation of my privacy.
Okay.
What you want to do?
Well, can you answer some questions?
Federal law. I'm not going to tell you again.
Well, show me the federal law, please. You said I have 2 minutes, but
I don't have to show you now. I'm telling you under wiretapping.
Okay.
I do not want to be recorded.
Well, could you tell me as to why my friend is being arrested? What law did he break?
He talked to a judge about a case.
Alright. So, apparently Jason was just threatened if he didn't turn off his camera. I want to go see what this is about up here.
There is no video and audio allowed in this lobby.
There isn't?
Now shut it off, you go and get arrested.
Where's the statute?
It's right on the wall.
Oh. Can you show me?
I said,
Can you show me where it is on the
you're
wall?
under arrest.
No, sir. I
Okay.
just want to see where the law is.
You're under arrest.
No. I have work today.
Well,
This is
you ain't gonna make it. You got your
what? No.
Put
Wait.
it on the counter. Now.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Hey, wait a minute. Let's just be friends here. Like, all I wanted to see what's going on. Excuse me. Excuse, Jason, my camera's rolling. Would you get this, please?
If you're going to arrest my friend, I would like to know I think it's important that you
You
require.
get out.
I think it's important that you require the
I told you
information.
once.
Can you show me where
If
the
I
law
was
is?
filming, I'm not currently.
Where is the law that says I can't film?
But if you're
You
going to
wanna
arrest
shut
my
this off?
friend,
Would you show me where it is?
Shut that off.
you should at least provide the.
I don't have to show you.
The video has been edited down for time, but you'll notice Jason was able to film with no arrest for a long time relative to the few seconds it took for Derrick to elicit a violent response from the bailiffs. For our discussion panel tonight, we have special guests Pete Eyre and Ademo Freeman of Cop Block and Liberty on Tour. The charges are dropped, but Derrick still suffered an arrest. What do you make of this, Pete?
It's completely ridiculous. I can't see how anybody who lives here in Keene and has money taken from them to pay the salaries of these bailiffs could stand by their actions. I mean, Derrick was going up to just film, make a document of the events, and he was ordered immediately to stop filming. And when he asked why, after seconds, he was arrested, and it's completely ridiculous. I mean, we're talking about a courtroom where we're supposed to have justice, but and everyone says, hey, if you get arrested, just get it fixed in court. And Derrick was there just doing outreach, and he got pinched for no reason. So it's a huge burden to him. And I know even though the charge was dropped last week, it was he had to plan accordingly the past couple months, try to figure out a strategy, and it was just completely ludicrous, the whole thing. And what is going to be the repercussions to the folks who kidnapped and caged him?
Yeah, that's great points, Pete. And again, we apologize for the technical difficulties there. It seems to have a problem with the video, but you can see it on Free Keene TV later, most likely. But it amazes me as well as if people who say that the government is here to provide goods and services to the people and act as like this civil glue for society, then why they get in such tiffs when you try to film them and essentially hold them accountable. Derrick, more so than any other day, was trying to film me, who was arrested earlier than that. So even if, for argument's sake, there could be a time where government isn't monitored, which I can't think of one, at the time where they're effecting an arrest and attempting to punish somebody at our expense, that's not one of those times for sure. I don't know anybody no one I've ever encountered say, you should not film the police while arresting somebody. Most people seem to think that that's common sense, like the most of us. So that's what Derrick was doing there.
Yeah, especially. I mean, we're talking about a court. This is supposed to be a place where government is open and transparent, and the rules that they create and purport to enforce, are objective. And we know that's not the case. They often protect themselves, rather than serve justice. And that's what we saw in this case. There's a blanket order put down from Edwin Kelly, this judge, this New Hampshire judge, out of nowhere. We've had friends file Freedom of Information Act requests to figure out why this order was actually given, in order to not allow cameras in the lobby or the courtroom without permission here in Keene. And just weeks or months prior, pretty much everyone in this studio has personally filmed in that area and not been hassled. And yet one person writes on a piece of paper, hey, no more filming in this area. And again, we're talking about people who are paid for by tax money and who don't want to be held accountable. So Derrick goes in there to investigate, and he's arrested and caged, and it's completely ridiculous. He's completely nonviolent.
Exactly. If folks out there in the Keene area are unfortunate enough to have to visit some of the courthouses here, begin to see these intrusions on your privacy. They'll take your cell phones, they'll take their things, and I think the only way to end it is for us to as a group, publicly state that we want transparency in the court system.
Thank you, Ademo and Pete. Our next story features Republican presidential candidate Ron Paul. He visited Keene last Monday, and thanks to Keene News Now and Glorious Coconut, we have some local footage.
In 1971, they said counterfeiting for the government is unlimited. You can create as much money as you want, but they have to be able to do it in secret. They had already invented this notion of the central bank called the Federal Reserve System. It had been around since 1913. But guess what? The people who did get bailed out were the people who were most undeserving. They were the very wealthy banks and very wealthy corporations, and they had a lot of bad debt on the books. So what did the Fed do and what does the Congress do? They went and bought these bad debts and dumped them on the American taxpayer. Now, I see this as a consequence not only of a monetary issue, but a bigger issue. To me, the biggest issue is that of understanding what individual liberty is. And that's what our country was all about. My goal is, in my political life and my economic life, of course, is to restore the confidence in the free market, talk about sound money and personal liberty. You know, we had the introduction of the Federal Reserve Act, created the Federal Reserve, and the truth is not only do I want to audit the Federal Reserve, I'd like to get rid of it someday as well. If you had the release of creative energy to all individuals and restrain the federal government and allow the states to deal with the problems, we wouldn't even need an income tax. And I think that would be a real incentive for economic growth. Now now we have embarked on this notion that we as a nation are so exceptional that we have an obligation to tell the people of the world what to do. Yes, there are a lot of problems overseas, but I don't believe we have the right or the authority to tell other people what to do. We ought to be dealing with our problems here at home and improving our own conditions. So in my effort to try to come back to sanity with spending, because I think deficits are so dangerous to us, that the best place to start cutting spending, should be the least controversial place to start cutting spending, is the overseas spending. That is the reason that immediately I would start bringing the troops home from around the world and bring them back to the United States. I think the important reason...
On Wall Street, who want free? There are protesters in jail.
There's something wrong.
There is something wrong with this system.
We are the 99%.
We are the 99%. Be heard.
You feel better?
We can do that, and this is where I'm encouraged. With the younger generation, they're listening and paying attention. They know this system is messed up, and they're ready to accept this responsibility. So I once again want to thank you all for coming. Appreciate being here, and please join me in the cause of liberty. Thank you very much.
This next video is from Cop Block and is part of the new series being put out by Ademo Freeman. Take a look at this week's Better Than a Cop video.
This week, we have two stories for you. The first comes from Colorado, where Catherine Lucas, 25, parked her bike outside of a bar where she was watching a University of Colorado football game. When she left, she discovered that her road bike was missing. She immediately contacted the police and filed a report. While the police did nothing, Catherine decided to take matters into her own hands. Her and her roommate began searching Craigslist to see if the thief would try selling the bike there. Sure enough, Lucas found a post and immediately recognized her bike's red handlebar tape and water bottle holder. She then responded to the Craigslist ad, pretending to be the buyer for the bike. Minutes later, a person using the name Lance Robinson responded with his phone number and instructed her to text him so he could send her his address. Catherine went to the man's apartment complex and asked if she could test ride the bike. When she got on the bike, she made a split-second decision to keep riding, taking her property back without incident. When Catherine returned home, she called the police and provided them with the perp's address. Police later arrested the bike thief, who was charged and released. The second story comes from Atlanta, Georgia, where 12-year-old Jessica Maple solved a break-in at her late grandmother's home without the police. Jessica, never buying the police officer's story that someone with a key must have broke in, convinced her mother to help her investigate further. While doing so, she found a broken window that police had missed. This window provided additional clues and possible fingerprints to the perps. But before going to the police with the information, they decided to take it a step further. The duo checked local pawn shops for the stolen goods from their grandmother's home. It didn't take long to find several of the missing items. Not only that, the pawn shop store owner had pictures, address, and names of the alleged thieves. Yet, even though Jessica did all the legwork and successfully cracked the case, something police were too busy to do, those responsible for the break-in remained free. Both stories, in my opinion, are perfect examples of the incapabilities in policing today. While police spend more and more of their time on victimless crimes, those who are actual victims go without service, a service they're forced to pay for. These courageous individuals have not only proven to me that crimes with actual victims are secondary issues to police, but have also shown that police aren't the only option in protecting oneself or property. And that's why they are this week's Better Than a Cop story.
Ademo. Many would say the police are a needed part of society. Are there alternatives?
Well, I feel protection is a definite need in society. I think there would be many alternatives as well if we would allow folks to network with one another and provide services to one another that individuals decide on their own that they need. So I'm not against what the idea of policing is, or that, you know, X, Y, and Z steps need to be taken to protect folks. My biggest gripe with policing today is the lack of accountability and the lack of choice I have in its in its function, as well as the inability to remove myself from paying for it if I don't believe what that service is. So I hope that if we can get the government out of the business of protection, which is all policing is protecting folks, then we can really come up with some good solutions, and that's basically what copblock.org is for.
Yeah, I'd echo what Ademo said. I mean, I would, to tie both these clips together, the Better Than a Cop and the Ron Paul clip, I mean, it's all about market signals. And today, like Ademo said, there's no competition for police, so there's an oversupply of policing. I mean, instead of focusing on actions for which there are victims, police today have an incentive to grow the number of officers in the department, the number of crimes that they go after, and oftentimes these crimes that get added to the books have no victims. So instead of investigating a murder or something that actually had a victim, they're out there harassing people and saying more actions are illegal and more things are wrong. And to tie this back to Ron Paul's statement about the spinning, how to reel back spinning and this and that. I mean, we're talking about an organization that says, hey, we have a right to your money, and they don't spend the money. I mean, you would spend your money better than a stranger would. If I took $100 from you and spent it on something, I have no incentive to spend it as well as you do. I'm not going to learn from my mistakes, especially if I have a printing press in the back room like the feds do. So this is all tied together. It's all about market signals, supply and demand, and it's not some amorphous market where there's faceless people. We're talking about individuals making consensual interactions, and to have anything provided to you through force is not a good thing. It's either done immorally or inefficiently.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm glad you touched on Ron Paul too, because he's talking a lot on his video about the wars, the feds, and all these banks, and government allows these things to happen. Government allows these things to get out of control. When you have a very small group of people dictating the image or how the wealth of 300 million people is directed, you run into these issues. 300 million people here probably wouldn't pay for a war in Iraq. 300 million people unanimously probably wouldn't pay for a war on drugs. And to tie it into a little more locally, and both stories, the Keene police, even Officer Maxfield, Scott, and I'll try to think of the last one's not coming to my mind, but I've had conversation with them, I think you have as well, where they also know some of their jobs they're not too favorable of doing. They're not proud that they have to go out and sit on a corner behind a bush and catch people speeding, that there's something more productive that they could do in time. Not to say that if the government was out of their monopoly of the roads, they wouldn't be hired as a security person to maintain a speed on that road. Right. We all respect private property, and if that was your decision, so be it, to have a speed limit on your private road. But as far as policing today, there's a lot of these things they don't do. So, I think officers are all different. Maybe some don't mind the traffic violation stuff. Some don't mind the war on drug types things. And through voluntary interactions, we can all fund and pay for the things that we want.
Right, and to tie this back to Derrick J Freeman's story, I know I personally would not pay to cage somebody who wanted to videotape someone who purports to work for them, especially because their salary is paid for by theft again. And, just like the market is a bunch of individual interactions, if I said, hey, I like that hoodie, can I give you some money for it, and we agree on it, we're both better off. Wealth is created. It's the same thing. Like, government is just an association of individuals. So again, it's not a bunch of faceless bureaucrats, and we're not out to say everyone in the government's bad or everything the government does is bad. We're here to say if the government is doing something today for which there's a demand, such as building roads or supplying protection, it could be done a lot more efficiently and morally through the market. I know. And so what's the surest way to end that? Ron Paul talks about states' rights and things, but how can an arbitrary political boundary have rights? No more than the feds can, no more than that the country can have. I would just advocate strike the root, educate yourself, don't grant these people authority. Google Austrian economics and think for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Ron Paul's a great guy to start you off in the liberties. Google him as well and get a good feel for his message compared to everyone else out there that's running. There's a lot of the same talk and there's a lot of interesting stuff. So feel free to check that out. And with that, we'll head over to Jonny Ray.
Our final video for the night is one of charity. Private individuals helping the needy without coercion.
I'm Amanda, and I am organizing the Basket Brigade. Today is the Sunday before Thanksgiving, and we're driving to the homes of some needy families and giving them baskets full of food so that they can celebrate Thanksgiving. I did this because I wanted to honor my dad's memory. He organized the Basket Brigade for over a decade in Dallas, and he died in April pretty unexpectedly. And I was thinking that I wanted to do a Basket Brigade too, and then it occurred to me that I have this network of Free Stater friends that I knew would support the idea. So I reached out on Facebook and told them about it, and ended up raising, like in the course of maybe a week, 2 weeks, over $1,000, and that ended up paying for 52 households to have Thanksgiving dinner, and I think that's like 174 people total.
A lot of folks turn to the state and rationalize the violence of the state because they're scared of, like, you know, what ifs will happen if government's not there to take care of people for this or to do that. But this is the kind of thing that shows, like, people help people. You know, we have an incentive to take care of each other, and when we're able to, we do.
Hey, this is Johnson Rice, and I'm participating in this because I think that it's really good to have this goodwill type of activism.
And this also puts us in touch with the community.
And so I came up from Connecticut to participate.
It's libertarian principles in action.
It's libertarian principles in action. It's voluntarism and mutualism in action.
What's up, y'all?
Hi, my name is Carla Garrick. I'm the president of the Free State Project, and I'm here today with a bunch of other people to do a Basket Brigade, which is an outreach in the Concord community for Thanksgiving. So a lot of us believe in private charity is the way to go, and this is us living our principles, living our ideals. And so we're going out to needy families in Concord, and we're going to go spread some love.
My name is Brad Jardis, and I'm a native New Hampshire person, and this is Nibby. She's a native New Hampshire person, and we're here because we support the Free State Project, and we support these people who were repressed, I believe from Nepal, I believe they're from? Bhutan. Or Bhutan, I'm sorry. And they're moving to the place, the one place in the world where everyone's coming so they can live their life in the way they see fit, as long as they don't hurt anybody else. This is the perfect place for them.
A little over half of all the homes were those refugees from Bhutan, and they were thrown out of their home country a few years ago because of their religion and language and ethnicity, and all of their property was taken from them.
Hello, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You too.
Yep, thanks.
We just wanted to wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving and welcome you to New Hampshire.
So in the bags for the vegetarians, they're Hindus, they're vegetarians. We got basmati rice, a lot of fruits and veggies, lentils, and a few other kinds of beans, black tea, a package of butter, granola bars, salt and pepper, and some cooking oil. But so we got some cool pans for only $1 at the dollar store, eggs, a giant turkey. They got butter, eggs, stuffing, brownie mix, a pumpkin pie, some granola bars, lots of potatoes.
Good job you're doing. What a big bag for you to carry.
It's very heavy.
Thank you so much and happy holidays
Yep,
to you.
take care.
Oh, thank you.
My name's Glenn Aldrich. I moved here as a part of the Free State Project. It's just awesome to see all the things that we've done. And this is where I like to do, to be a part of the community and make it a nicer and a better place for all.
Have a happy Thanksgiving now.
Take care.
You're welcome. Enjoy it.
Freedom and liberty. Who doesn't want that? It's got to be for slavery and, whatever some derogatory words are for it.
But to find the families, I just contacted private charities. I didn't go to like the welfare office. You could look into like what kind of agency is providing these baskets and then call them and say, I want to do it too.
Great. Thank you very much for doing it. Appreciate it. And
well, thanks.
Applause for Amanda. This is
Amanda.
This is a ridiculous
Pete, you were there at the event. What was your experience like?
It was great. This is exactly the reason why I have transplanted myself to the Shire. Surround myself with a lot of like-minded, good folks. You know, the whole show and every other Free Keene episode I've seen, you know, people are talking about helping each other out, voluntary interactions and things like that. And this just goes to show that how, you know, when people are able to, they help their neighbors. And, you know, not everybody, but enough folks do. And just imagine how much more. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the viewers donate to charities and organizations, and just think of how much more you'd be able to help other folks in need if you didn't have 40+% of your wealth stolen from you to fund inefficient and immoral organizations.
Yeah, I think this ties in well to the rest of the show, highlighting how the government is wasteful, the government is controlling, and that here, I think she said she raised $1,000. And with $1,000, 80 or how many families was it?
Well, over 170 people.
170 people were fed, you know, on a meal. And it happened within a week. The government wasn't able to get to a natural disaster like Katrina for months. Right. You know, and this is simple things like bottled water and stuff. You know, good folks with goodwill fed 170+ people, less than $1,000 in a very quick, efficient manner. Just reinforces all the things we were saying previously.
Right. I mean, these half the folks that receive meals we heard were from Bhutan. I mean, it's a great example again of just helping folks out, and you know, in general, I believe most folks are good people, and we don't need this violent institution in the state to help them out. And just imagine how much more prosperous society would be. The economy would be without the parasitic state. I mean, they're $1 trillion in debt, like any other organization would have gone bankrupt, and rightly so. So why quit? Why continue to give allegiance and grant authority to these, you know, they're parasites essentially, you know, for lack of a better word. And that's where I'll stop with that, I guess.
Right. But it's funny that some folks see the government as, well, maybe not funny, I guess that's not the right word either, but folks see the government as a necessity, that they provide for these things, and I think that also takes away their will to do some of this stuff like, oh, well, there's welfare, there's food stamps, there's, you know, this, that you can go out and get service from, financial aid for schooling, everything. I mean, if we could just broaden even this example of generosity that all the Free Staters took part in over the Thanksgiving holiday, and apply that to everything, even in everyone's daily businesses and lives, you could easily gain a lot more freedoms, wealth, prosperity, goals. I mean,
yeah, this is a great example of a term that's called agorism, which essentially provides a good or service, you know, through voluntary interactions, and that competes with the state. So today, if you look 100 years ago. The voluntary associations, most people belonged to them, they paid into them, they provided insurance, they had incentives and checks to make sure people weren't taking advantage of money that other folks were contributing. Then we saw the state, the government get involved and grow the welfare state, which has crowded out the voluntary associations, and that's essentially what we're trying to get back to. We're trying to strengthen the community, help out our neighbors, and not try to control the gun of the state. The more you try to control the gun of the state, the more you legitimize it, you centralize power there, and the worse off we all are.
Yep, just living free. As long as you're not harming anybody else, you should be able to do what you want. You should be able to spend your money how you want, whether that's on protection, turkeys, you know, rent for your neighbor, whatever it might want to be, vacation, new camera for yourself. I know a lot of us folks would probably like some of that stuff, but you know, it's, you know, government to me makes things very complicated. You know, we're getting into political election season again, coming up here in the next year, and you're going to hear a lot of back and forth, left, right, Republican, Democrat, and at the end of the day, it's all about control. I mean, it's how to live your life, how to spend your money. They're pretty much calling you stupid by saying you can't spend your money, you can't run your life, but I can do it for you. So think about that when you're going to vote this next season.
Yeah, so I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you for watching Free Keene TV. Stay tuned each Monday at 7 for the latest episode. I'm Jonny Ray, wishing you and yours only the best.